With talking about this guy #Trader. Today will be a very short video, and you guys at home you'll see why when you come into school tomorrow. And you have to meet with Mrs. Hawkins, and then we'll watch some videos as well. So you guys that are here tomorrow will also be a short video for you because we're gonna do the same. I want to show them the video too. Okay, so that's why. All right. Who is this man? #Trader with it flashing. That is Benedict Arnold. And why do we call him a traitor? In fact, if you refer to someone as a Benedict Arnold in America, you're saying that they betrayed you, they stabbed you in the back, that they're not trustworthy. What did he do? Very good, very good. He did so in the year 1780 when American morale was definitely staggered as a result of it. When he was a general. This is not like a private that switches. This is a general. General Benedict Arnold turned traitor. This is almost like the equivalent of George Washington switching sides. Okay? He was a general. And, Benedict Arnold was a good military leader. He had brilliant tactics, but he liked to get paid, and he felt like his services to the colonial army were not being appreciated, and not only appreciated, they were not being compensated. So he plotted with the British to sell out the American forces at the key stronghold of West Point. You guys know where West Point is? Today there's a military academy there called West Point. It's in New York. If you watch a football game and it's Army versus Navy, West Point's where Army is. Okay? So it's an Army place. All right, so he commanded, and so Arnold plotted with the British to sell out the colonists at the key stronghold of West Point. And basically, he wanted money, and he wanted to be an officer for the Redcoats. He wanted to turn in his blue coat for a red coat, and he wanted to be an officer. But his plot was foiled when he was found out in just the nick of time, and he just escapes, and he flees to the British side. He just escapes. So, the British, meanwhile, devised a plan to roll up the colonies, beginning in the South, where loyalists were numerous. Have you ever watched the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson? You just saw him on the video. The Patriot? Never seen The Patriot. It's on Netflix. And it's got Heath Ledger in it, Mel Gibson. It's got a bunch of people you'll recognize that are in a lot of movies. I highly recommend you guys watch. It's like 2.5 hours long, so I'm not gonna watch it here. I only see you 2 days a week. But check it out. You won't be disappointed, because it shows what life was like in the South during the American Revolution and how Southern people responded to it, as he was a South Carolinian, okay? And how he, Mel Gibson, the main leader, or the main character, how he has to go into battle against British troops led by Lord General Cornwallis. Okay? So, because that was the British plan. They're going to, instead of going through the north, they're going to go through the south. And Cornwallis was very good at what he did, and he had a great deal of success early on in the south, conquering Charleston Harbor, which was one of the largest seaports in the colonies. And the movie goes right along with that. So you should check it out. It's on if you have the ability. Obviously, it's not homework or anything, but if you like, it's a good movie. Like, you'll enjoy watching it if you like me. Okay? All right. Now, it seems like I'm skipping a lot, and I kind of am. But Yorktown is one of the final decisive battles. Now, before this last decisive battle at Yorktown, it was one of the darkest periods of war for the colonies in the 1780s and 1781. We had the winter at Valley Forge. You guys remember talking about that last year? Can anybody tell me some of the, like, characterize for me the winter in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania? Horrible. Definitely not vacation worthy. Anything else? Yes, under provisioned, undersupplied. A lot of people freezing to death, starving to death. One of the coldest winters in history up to that point. And that was before, global warming and stuff. Anything? All right. So, what about the soldiers' morale? Yeah, the ones that survived though, did they go home? But surprisingly, a lot of them stayed. A lot of them stayed to continue the fight. So that just showed you that the resolve that a lot of those men had. So Valley Forge was definitely bad. Inflation of our currency, really bad, because the Continental Congress decided that they were going to start printing their own money, and they called it what? The Continental Congress printed Continental money. That's what they called it, Continental. And then the expression came, it's not worth a Continental. You ever heard that expression? Because the money that they printed had no backing, it had nothing to back it up, and it was worthless. And basically the inflation of that currency, meaning it became worth less, continued, and the government was virtually bankrupt. So our sense of unity throughout the colonies was definitely wavering as a result of our not being able to pay our bills well. So, meanwhile, when all this is going on, things are not looking good for the colonies. British General Lord Cornwallis, he kind of blunders into a trap after futile operations in Virginia, after he had marched all the way through South Carolina, then North Carolina, and then into Virginia. So he was having some success. But when he gets to Virginia, he falls into a trap and has to retreat back into the Chesapeake Bay at the town of Yorktown, to await supplies. Now, Yorktown is on the coast. It's a seacoast town. And he hopes that he can be reinforced there by the British Navy. However, by the time this happens, American assistance arrives from a foreign country. And who is that country that really saves the day? France. The French were now prepared to cooperate energetically. And in a brilliant stroke, the admiral of the French fleet, de Grasse, little d, little e, space, capital G, Rasse, de Grasse, is able to join the Americans at Yorktown, cut the British off from their supplies, and General Washington marches to Yorktown from New York, by the way, 300 miles, and surrounds Cornwallis. Now, I don't want you to think just as soon as this happened, the war's over. It's not. Fighting actually continued on for more than a year after Cornwallis surrenders at Yorktown. But when doing so, when Cornwallis surrenders his entire force of 7,000 men on October the 19th, 1781, the Americans and the French are triumphant, and they win. And like I said, the fighting actually continued on as King George still had 55,000 troops in North America. It's not like fighting's all done. Okay, we quit. Ow, you hurt me. It's not like that. Don't think of it as being immediately over. The fighting continued on for more than a year, mainly between patriots and loyalists. You guys remember the difference between patriots and loyalists? Patriots are people that are who? freedom from. That's right. They want freedom from the British, and then the loyalists are people who that are loyal to the crown. They want to stay part of Great Britain. Okay, so we win somehow, some way. We pull it out. We defeat. It's a true David and Goliath moment where we are David and they are Goliath, and we are somehow able to pull out a victory. And we have to discuss peace. And this peace discussion begins at the Treaty of Paris in 1783. Treaty of Paris in 1783, where we send 3 American peace negotiators to Paris. You guys know who we send? $100 bills, y'all. Benjamin Franklin, who's very old but still astute. A crotchety man from Massachusetts who is brilliant but nobody really gets along with. Second president. John Adams. And one of the first members of President Washington's cabinet and writers of the Federalist Papers. John Jay. So those are our 3 peace negotiators we send to Paris. These 3 guys had very explicit instructions from the Continental Congress to make no separate peace and to consult with the French at all stages of negotiations, as we had an alliance with the French. We allied ourselves with them, and if we were going to make a peace, we had to include the French. And that causes some very big problems for us, as you will see when I talk about this next time. Have a wonderful day.